Come find out everything you need to know on the Space Marine Fire Raptor.
Spiking bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Rob Baer with you again today, talking some Fire Raptor. This is first of all, this is a great kit from Forge World. I love this kit from the minute I saw it. I think the Storm Eagle came out first, and I was like, man, Storm Eagle's okay. And the Fire Raptor came out with its ball turrets, just like, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get that. And then I got it, and I put it together, and it kind of sat around for like 5 years. Which is always the case, right, with a lot of projects. But lo and behold, I picked up an Ultramarine army from my friend Matt Silver at Hellfire Painting, and he put out like a super simple guide on how to paint Ultramarine blue. And I was like, this is genius. Why haven't we talked about this on the channel yet? Because it's so simple. It doesn't require any airbrushing. Very, very little real actual painting talent to, put your models together, and they kind of almost paint themselves. I know that's not a real thing, but I'll link the article, the full article from Max over at Hellfire Painting in the comments below, just so you guys can check that out. But we use the same technique on this Fire Raptor because he didn't have one with his army when I picked it up from him, but we needed a Fire Raptor because this thing is just awesome. And I had a Fire Raptor laying around, and my buddy over at the Painting Apothecary was all about painting one of these. So I was like, Jeff, here, literally follow this guide. It's so simple to paint this thing. I just need one for Guilliman. Guilliman needs to follow this thing around the table and just pew, 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 all the guns at all the things. And thus, a couple days later, I had a $60 paint job on this incredible kit from Forge World. And it's awesome. I'm super happy with this. It's very basic, and let's talk about it on the painting table. And there she is, the Fire Raptor. Now, first off, you're probably gonna immediately notice, hey, this is an airbrush. You're right, it isn't. We use the Ultramarine spray from Army Painter, and then you can actually, any mistakes you make, you can color match correct with the Ultramarine blue, which I actually did a few touch-ups to this thing. When I got it in, I bumped it into a few things on the front there, so I actually damaged it a little bit myself. So I had to fix it. We used a little of this gold here on the front. What is this thing? Retributor gold from Games Workshop on the front, and then gave it a little bit of the gloss flesh, Riesling flesh shade on the front there, and it created a nice little effect. It is a little glossy, of course, but it definitely looks like a cockpit. It doesn't look like an unpainted feature right there. But Ultramarine spray from Army Painter, and then strong tone mixed 5 parts of that to like a couple parts of, I think it was the Airbrush, what is this here? Airbrush Flow Improver from Vallejo. And if you read the bottle here, it actually says it is made to improve the flow and delay the drying of the paint on the needle. So 1 to 2 drops for every 10 drops of paint in the cup of airbrush. So like I said, roughly 5, because it's already a very thin substance from Army Painter. That was the strong tone right here. About 5 drops of that to 2 drops of that stuff there, sprayed all over top of it. And you can see where it kind of darkened it. And there's some areas here where it did, it got in there, it did the capillary action, kind of streamed down from the sides, didn't really get in there. But that's okay. This is a very simple paint job that once you go in and you actually block out all the metals, it shades itself once you do that. This is literally a spray primer with the details picked out, with Army Painter Strong Tone sprayed over top of it, and then the golds picked out and done in flesh tone, which I guess you could use the flesh wash from Army Painter. And then right here is Celesta Gray, I believe, from Games Workshop. And that was actually sprayed with the strong tone too, which you can kind of see the difference in there between the 2 tones. And then just all around, just different greens and such onto it. Now, what's really cool about this, and I definitely recommend doing this, is you can actually magnetize because remember when the autokins were the way to go with this, well now the quad heavy bolters are because of guillotine. And we're going to talk some rule stuff here in a minute on some tactics and stuff, but I just literally wanted to tell you it took longer to put this together than to paint it. So a lot of people out there that sometimes get discouraged by our airbrush tutorials here on the channel, don't be discouraged, because you can do just a good looking paint job, maybe not with all the cutbacks and the contrast and the highlights, with a spray primer, and just you don't even have to spray the strong tone over top of it with an airbrush if you don't want to. You can literally hit this with a coat of gloss varnish or semi-gloss, and then take this strong tone and dab it into the corners here, and it'll create a capillary action where it will pull the strong tone down through it for all these big areas and stuff like this. You could literally do this with a paintbrush. It would take a little bit of time, but no more time than blocking out all these metals and things like that. So there's lots of options here for you guys out there that don't have airbrushes to still produce a very good looking paint job on a vehicle right here. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind that will keep your hobby muscle strong too. Elric's Hobbies sells this great shale base here. I think I've showed this to y'all before. And what's cool about this is you see that the cross pattern is cut into the base, which allows you to remove the flying stem itself. If you put a little bit of poster tack down in there, you can reinsert it, and it's pretty sturdy. Like, this will go right into here, and to be there's my magnets have come off, and to be quite honest, this this recess right here isn't as deep as it should be. Forge World might not have clearly kind of had a grasp on their flying stand game about the time they designed this. But for the most part, it is sturdy. We're not on a level surface here, but if we make it level, it's going to pretty much work just fine right there. And you can actually pick it up and move it. It's actually having more separation issues up here on the Fire Raptor itself than the stem down here. So just be careful when it comes to some of these Forge World ones. You might want to drill up into there or put a pin on it or something like that, because in some cases Forge World just kind of put those cross hatches in there as an afterthought and didn't make them as secure as possible as they could be, I suppose. Now, another area of gotcha when you're putting this together that you might want to be aware of are these ball turrets. And you think about it and it's like, oh, this is really easy, but how do I pull them out? Well, one of the easiest ways once you get them in here is if you just kind of press down on this piece right here, and what this is going to do is allow you to pull it out. Now, one of the things to keep in mind too that they don't exactly tell you in the instructions is you want a little bit of a spring kind of action to these little pieces right here. I don't know what we'll call them, harness pieces, okay? You can glue it back here, but you want to keep these kind of springy, because what that's going to do is create a little bit of tension. Man, I tell you what, gotta be nice to these things today. It creates a little bit of tension with the little nubs right there that are in there. So even if you might get one that's slightly broken off, these look to be the original size that I remember. But what this is going to do is it's going to allow the turret to spring up into there and actually lock itself into place. So what you do is you just slide it in here, and boom, you've got a lock, and you've got a lock right there, and it turns. And it's good to go. And then again, to get it out, you just snap it right there, right off, and pull it right out, because it's going to have the clearance, it's going to have the tolerance to do those sort of things. So that's really about it. If your piece is not isn't springy, you can use heat to actually heat up the top and the bottom of the C-clamp, and then just kind of pull it apart as it's warm, and then dunk it under some cold water so it will re-solidify from the cold. The crystals inside of the resin and such will re-solidify, or the material rather, the strands, whatever you want to call them, will re-solidify and then be in that shape and hold that shape right there. They're not always going to come exactly the way you need them from Forge World. And then, you know, doing all your metals and stuff, you guys know how to do metals. You just hit them with a little bit of wash, and you can do your weapons a little different. If you do have the airbrush, you're probably going to save you even more time because this is super easy. I don't know where the autocannons are, but I do have them somewhere there. And then once you put it all together, you're pretty much good to go on all of that there. So that is a quick and easy way to paint your vehicles without an airbrush right there. Now let's talk about actual rules for these and why it's always good to make your modular designs for these things. Now, if you have the option to magnetize your weapons, I recommend always doing it in 8th edition 40K because things are changing so fast these days when it comes to this sort of thing. The rules have, the points have actually gone down, believe it or not, on the Fire Raptor right here. And what makes the Fire Raptor so good is its firepower. First of all, it's going to be -1 to hit, which is awesome. There is no other way to make it -1 to hit unless you take it in Chaos, and then you cast the Nurgle power. You make it Death Guard Legion, and you cast a Nurgle Psychic power on it to make any Death Guard unit -1 to hit as well. So you can kind of double dip in that regard, and making something -2 is probably good. So it's going to have hard to hit, so like we already talked about that. But what's really cool about this is if you make it Ultramarines, which a lot of folks do because Ultramarines are kind of the thing right now, is that it's going to have all sorts of firepower. You know, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, or re-rolling everything if you got Guilliman, wounding quite possibly on 3s for the most part with the Strength 5, re-rolling if you have Guilliman, or re-rolling 1s if you have a Lieutenant is incredible. The Avenger Bolt Cannon, 6. You know, you're going to be wounding on 3s, if not 2s, against lower strength targets. It comes stock with the Hellstrike launcher. You can upgrade for the twin las cannons, I think for 20 points each. Not sure if it's worth it. It's probably not worth it if you're not re-rolling all the hits, I think, in that regard. But you know, other than that, I'm not exactly sure if you're not taking a Guilliman list, if you should do that right there. And I'm actually trying to look up. I do everything off my phone now, points wise, just because of the fact that the points change so quick. It's very hard to reference all the different books out there. So just on the fly, I really like to do this here. So your quad heavy bolter upgrades are 72 points now. If you want to go with the twin las cannons, those are going to be 50 points each. Or if you go with the twin Hellstrike launchers, those are 96. So I feel like for 4 points more, you get the las cannons. So you might as well go with the las cannons at that point. Now, this particular model right here does not have the las cannon bits to go with it. Those actually come on the Storm Eagle, and they socket right in here to the to where the missiles go. Now, there's two different ways to do it. If you get your hands on the bits to go right there, well, you could make this modular so you could socket it in or socket it out. But another good way to go about it potentially is to get the Vendetta Upgrade Kit from Forge World, which I think is like £6 or something like that. It is for a Vendetta, you know, what is it? Not the Vendetta, the Valkyrie chassis. But you could put them, you could cut off the barrels for the underslung part and just mount them where the missiles are on that thing. And I think it would work fine, and it's affordable, and it is about the same size as what you would expect there. So for 96 points, I think it's probably worth going with the twin las cannons at that point. So that puts you up to 362 points all day with 19 power level, and that is with the quad heavy bolters. You could switch them out for the autocannons for 60 points, but I feel like the quad heavy bolters, those are the bee stingers. Those are the -1 doing 1 damage, but you got 12 of them coming in. So those Space Marines that were a 3 save are now a 4 save. So you're gonna be whittling stuff down through Strength of Fire, which you have definitely in spades right here. So overall, I think the Fire Raptor is a solid choice for the Astartes. I think the Leviathan is a solid choice for the Astartes these days as well, for both both Renegade and normal. Of course, we will talk more maybe about the Leviathan here in the future on this channel here, but this was kind of a double dipper, a double deuce, so to speak, a little hobby feature on how you can paint up your models using just spray cans and a little bit of ingenuity to get a great looking effect here without using an airbrush. So if you like these kind of features, make sure you work out those hobby muscles and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on these posts.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.